right.
Welcome back to Bankrupt Overland. We are back at it again with the regulars. What's up, guys?
What's up, man?
Yo, what's happening?
Uh, just hanging. It's gotten hot here in Tennessee. I'll say that. Well, not real hot. And I'm not just saying that because Jeff's on fire right now.
Elephant in the room. Jeez. Let me cool down for a second.
Yeah, cool it over there, Jeff. Cool. We're just getting started here. Just getting started. I know you have a lot of hot takes ready for this episode on what to look for when you are going to buy a 100 Series Land Cruiser.
I hope so.
So spoiler alert, that's the topic today is what you should look for when you are buying 100 Series Land Cruiser. We're going to pull from some really good online sources that are already available. And so we'll call those out, tell you where you can find them. And then you'll be able to use those notes and kind of follow along with this conversation. Our goal is to be able to give you a little bit of context to those write-ups and kind of give you an idea of why certain things are important and why they might not be important to you, to help you make your decision. So once again, this is our third episode now where
number 3
live on YouTube.
Number 3.
So
cool.
We've got a few people watching Missouri Adventures out there already in the comments. So great to have you with us tonight. Should be a good conversation. So we'll get rolling in here. Anything exciting happened the last couple of weeks for you guys, wheeling or camping wise or fixing wise?
Did I mention I put on sliders? I mentioned I got sliders last time. I know for sure.
Yeah, you talked about getting them.
I
finally talked about them.
Yeah.
You did not talk about installing them yet.
Yep.
If you haven't seen Steve's video, you have to go check it out on Instagram. It is. You have to watch it at least 3 times, and then you'll start laughing, and you can't stop. So, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, man, that was so fun to record. That was.
Was your wife holding the camera at any point? Or
I know. I brought in my trash can into my garage and put up my phone on the
old trash can mount.
Oh yeah,
and
then it was weird because I had to throw a 10-second timer on, run my fat ass outside with my neighbors looking at me shirtless doing stuff. So it got real weird, but it was worth it.
Before this video, how many times have you been shirtless jumping around in your driveway, just for context purposes?
0, but my backyard
so your neighbors
is not
were probably
my
like, what the hell's going on over there?
And then my garage smelled like paint fumes, so I'm sure they're like, this guy, what is he doing?
He's huffing paint, running around naked.
It was so funny. Yeah, man, that video, God, I watched it at least 100 times. It was I loved it. I loved making it, and it just makes me laugh every time I watch it. But
man, I remember when it first popped over, and I was like, "Is that Steve?
Is that
Steve?
really Steve? He's really doing that?"
Yeah.
And I'm
like,
the
sound clip is the best too.
Yeah.
It took me a couple times, and I just started rolling. Like I just lost it.
I was out somewhere when you sent me the preview to it, the draft, and I wanted to show the people that I was with, but I was like, they're just not going to understand.
No.
They're not going to understand Steve.
They will understand. What is? Yeah. So that's definitely my personality encapsulated in a 10-second video. So.
Oh man, that was beautiful.
Yeah,
good stuff.
So you made it real, which is great.
Yes,
that's work in the social world.
Yeah.
So nice work. Yeah, you got some stuff done.
We actually got a fair amount of shares and quite a bit of attention. So pretty cool. I mean, it was just me kind of goofing off, but if I can make other people smile, then that's all, that's what I'm really out there for. So
we love it. We love
it. Good. But yeah, so that was me installing my sliders. I kind of did it the very hard way because everybody recommends jack stands or a floor jack. I used to have jack stands until Harbor Freight said, "Hey, these might kill you. Can you please return them?" So
obviously you returned them.
I returned them, and so I was trying to figure out the best way to wrangle. God, well, I guess they're about 80 pounds ish sliders. So I went
they're
with
heavy, but they're just awkward because they're so long.
Yeah,
and then they're not balanced because of the brackets and everything, right?
Yeah, and the kick out, so it's not like the balance point isn't right in the middle because it's not equal because there's a kick out, which is more weight and everything towards the rear. So
yeah,
I finally got the right tools. I borrowed some stuff from a buddy right down the road, and it was super simple. So someone that wants to put on sliders, I highly recommend at least jack stands, if not a floor jack, because that really helped. I was able to balance it on the floor jack, roll it under, pump it up, and then bolt it in. So that was kind of the MVP of that install. Man, I rigged up some crazy stuff. Like I had a block and tackle. I was trying to lift it off of my porch. It was sketchy.
You had a handful of things before you even put them on, like painting them.
Yeah,
you had like a rope climbing rig set up in your like carport area.
Yeah.
So you fully had you MacGyvered the whole thing.
Oh, I did. I would not recommend doing it the way that I did it, but I mean, at the end of the day, it was easy. 4 bolts each side and, call it done. Mine was a little bit more complicated because I had AHC, and we'll get into that later in the podcast. But yeah, it was. I love them. They fit really well. No sort of issues or dramas once I got it put into place and bolted up, and they're rock solid. So I've already even put a high lift on it. So just to test them, I figured I might as well test them in my driveway setting before I have to try to put a high lift on
I did that exactly when I got mine, and I was like bouncing on it, like shaking it just to like see like, is this thing going to actually hold up? Like, is it welded on there good, or am I going to hit something with it and then it's going to crush into my rockers? So I did test it out a few times first.
I think it's good
to tell the difference for sure. The engineers and the sales guy, because I'm like, let's send it. Let's find a rock.
Let's just go.
I didn't even use a high lift once to check them out. I just went out and hit a rock on them. This is the first thing I did.
Hey, they held up, so I guess it works.
They do.
Nice.
They do. Yeah, we have. I'm interested in the difference in installation with AHC, because I installed the same sliders on the Land Cruiser, but it never had AHC, so I didn't have to worry about it. So I'm interested to hear what is different, because I think those AHC lines run on the inside of the frame rails, right?
Yep. And then
that's exactly where your U-bolts clamp to very, very tightly to hold these, as we mentioned earlier, very heavy pieces of metal to your vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
That would just squish them.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of finagling that I had to do just because I have AHC. So overall, not a bad install.
Is it like a different U-bolt, or do we want to talk about it a little bit later? I'm just curious.
No, I can talk about it now. It's the exact same. So Metal Tech 4x4 is a company that both of our sliders are from, and they make them so that it doesn't matter if it's AHC or non-AHC vehicle. The only difference is I had a couple more steps. So I had to unbolt a line holder on the back side, and then there's and then there's on the front side where the foot rests up against the frame. There was like a metal plate or metal shield for like the electrical components into the globes that I had to take off. So it's a total of like 12 bolts, driver passenger side, and then 4 shields, 4 little protective shield.
Nice. Okay.
Shield things. So not too bad, but a couple more steps regardless.
That's not bad at all. No, I was thinking you had to like move some lines or do something crazy.
Pretty self-explanatory.
I think on the normal install, you have to like unbolt the brake line, because the brake line also runs, and then you don't have to like actually unbolt it. You can actually fish the U-bolt through there. Like between
I didn't know you said on the normal applications you're supposed to.
So I mean, I guess you don't have to, but I did it just so
You can't see my face right now, but it's that face of like, I was supposed to do that.
I didn't do that.
If your brakes worked afterwards. No, it's funny.
Brakes been working.
Are you still driving around? Does it still work?
It's funny though, because like if longtime listeners have remember my master brake cylinder story, I messed it up installing a radio, and so this time I thought it would be funny to activate all the warning signs. So I pumped my brakes like 25 times, got the warning signs, and snapped a picture.
Yeah,
I took a video.
I saw that. I was like, "What the hell did Steve do this time?"
I took a video of like the warning alarm going off. I was like, "Oh no!" But then cut the video before the lamps went off. So just a little joke. But
on a side note, whenever I run any kind of electrical wires or anything, I always message Steve and I go, "Hey, can you come over and drill a hole in my firewall for me?" And he gets pissed. It's pretty funny.
That's funny
because I have a giant hole in my firewall where I
is it a hole or is it like an oval? It's like a square kind of. Like you can't tell exactly what it is because I don't know what you didn't use a drill bit. I know that.
I used a step bit and then hit a piece of metal on the backside. I was like, well, damn it. So then I tried a little lower and then realized that this wasn't, because it was like 2 eggs that are like, it's oblongs. So then I stuck some flex tape on it. I was like, whatever, I'll say
flex seal.
Yeah. It works. It's been holding and it hadn't gotten any water in. So,
oh man.
Yep.
I have a few holes in my Jeep firewall that are covered with a piece of metal and silicone around it. So
nice.
No shame.
Yeah,
it works.
Been there, done that. So
it works.
It's real hot in the summer when those holes are in there. A lot of heat
you
coming
can feel the heat coming through.
A lot of heat coming in.
Nice.
So did you paint your sliders gloss black or matte black?
So I did. There's a textured black that I wanted to try.
That's right. We talked about this. You went textured.
Yeah, I did textured.
Talking about that.
It's not like Raptor liner. It's not nearly as aggressive. It just gives it like a little hammered look. I'm not sold on it yet.
So like pterodactyl liner.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it's
it was like the only dinosaur that I felt was less than a raptor.
T-Rex liner.
Oh, that shit would be like mountainous if it was a T-Rex liner. It'd be like
taking off skin if I would have.
It'd be steps into your Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
Yep. So
I did hammered black on mine.
Okay.
So I did like a hammered black, and I liked it. I mean, it doesn't look. It doesn't really. It doesn't really have a texture, but it does have kind of like not like an orange peelish, kind of like an orange peelish, like kind of like a fish scaly a little bit. It just has a little bit of texture. So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty close to regular spray paint, but it's just what I used.
Yeah, as long as you have another bottle or can of the paint you use to touch up after you go have fun, then that's all that matters, right?
Yeah. So when you start spray painting things on your rig, you have to create an inventory in notes on your phone, because mine is a lot of spray paint. So I have like hammered black is the sliders, and then my bumper covers were painted.
Nice.
And then also my fenders are all painted and they're like iron, and I wrote like Ace Hardware iron color. And then the other one's like Rust-Oleum hammered black. So I have like an inventory of all the spray paint colors, and then as soon as I spray paint the whole car, it's going to be a different one. But it's nice because you can just grab that can and just
Yep.
Oh yeah. Sure. It's all matte black for me. Rust-Oleum matte black, all of it. Nice. Skid plates, bumper, and the bumpers I think originally came like gloss, but they're matte now because that's what the paint I have. Well, they're not all the way matte, just the bottoms of them where I hit stuff are matte. The top is still gloss.
Nice.
Oh man. So anything else besides the slider, Steve? Or did that take up the most of it?
Yeah, no, that I did the sliders, and then I took Olivia, my daughter, and my wife on. Well, it was Olivia's first like off pavement adventure, so that was fun.
That's a pretty big moment.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. So she was like 4 months.
She didn't like her onesie. I saw though.
Yeah,
wasn't a fan of it.
Promptly, pooped all over that. So
that's a nice alliteration.
Yeah.
Promptly,
you got us an update. This is what she thinks of the podcast, and it's just poop everywhere.
Promptly pooped on her podcast onesie.
There you go.
Dr. Seuss would be proud.
So Yeah, but she was fine actually. She was sleeping the entire time. And granted, it was a dirt devil, so if you're familiar with the area, nothing crazy, right? More of just kind of like washboardy style roads. So, um, but it was
They'll
just a
continue
beautiful
to do
day.
that all the way until they get older too.
Yeah, yeah.
Once they're good in the car, man, they just sleep. Like I would be when my kids were little, I would literally be in the desert, like hitting like washboard roads or like whooped out roads.
Yeah.
And the kids' heads are just going boom, boom, boom. And they're just fully asleep.
Yeah.
Just snoring, snoozing.
Yeah. So, I wanted to kind of get her out early and just kind of, get her used to that because I imagine we'll take more adventures like that. And as she gets older, we'll go more and more, technical, a little bit more further out. So, but breaking her in, getting her used to that kind of stuff. Yeah. No kidding. You're just like, you're literally in hell right now.
It's full on lightning out here right now. Yeah. There's full on lightning and the sky's pitch black. So I might just get dumped on in a minute. This is going to be good. This is going to be real good.
Great night to do this outside.
Yeah. Yeah. The video is totally
shot out, man.
Yeah.
Is it about the storm? Is this about to be a stormcast?
Yeah. Should have had a white t-shirt on, man. That would have been more fun.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, while Jeff figures that out, I'll go into a little bit of what I did, which is not a lot, except promptly find something else that was broken that I didn't have on my list for Mill Creek when they went through everything. So I had about a day or two back and heard another noise. I was like, what is that noise?
Yeah.
No, and, you got more problems?
I had a noise and I was like, what is that? And I couldn't figure it out. And so I hit up the guys from here. Like, hey, I got this weird noise come from the bottom. They were in every axle in the last week. They're like, just bring it up here. We'll throw it on lift to check it out real quick and do it on lift and ended up we put it in drive on the lift and you hear it squeaking and then you look up at the rear drive shaft and it just looks like a banana swinging around there.
Oh no.
Wow.
Yeah, the drive shaft is
so that was broken since Colorado.
The drive shaft, I messed it up in Utah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Utah.
Wow.
So the whole saying about Land Cruisers get you home. That what happened was that the drive shaft is still fine, right? It's just out of center. It was the U joints that finally gave out and were making that noise because when the drive shaft's not center, it's putting the pressure on those U joints more than anything. And so it started squeaking, and then like I drove it for like a week, and then it started clicking when I would accelerate, and I was like, okay. And so I went down like in one afternoon and in like 20 minutes, just dropped the drive shaft, turned the center diff lock on, and I've been driving around like that for the last week.
So you're front wheel drive right now? Front
wheel drive. Torque steer
have you done burnouts
fucker.
And stuff like crazy?
No, not burnouts.
Okay. My 80, I did that. And as soon as if I hit the gas going straight, it is getting wild here. If I hit the gas going straight, the whole front end would lift up and I could spin the front tires.
So I was pulling out of a parking lot today that was like on an incline and it was kind of turned. And when I hit it, I like gassed it and you could hear, woo. I was like, oh no, I'm going to tear a CV up real quick if I'm not careful.
You got to use your front locker on the street. Get over the curb at that Walmart.
So I put a little poll out and hit up some folks and got a bunch of good ideas for where I can get, a custom beefier drive shaft made. And so I'll be going that route. So probably like another week or two before I get my replacement drive shaft in.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then that'll go in. But outside of that, everything's been nice and tidy since it got back from Mill Creek. But that was one of those that we didn't really realize was broken until we got back and put some more miles on it. And it's like, oh, this is also broken.
Yeah.
Great.
Wow.
Yep. I looked over it at Vitali. I was like, did you bend my drive shaft?
Damn.
He was like, no, it's probably some idiot on some rocks. I was like, yeah, idiot's probably me.
Okay, yeah.
You can see the scuff marks on it. Damn.
I've actually looked for them. I couldn't find the scuff marks.
Oh, really? Okay.
So no, but there is a local drive shaft shop here that got a lot of recommendations from local people. So I'm going to go take it down to him, try to keep it local, small shop if I can, and do that whole route. So, but I'm pretty sure he could, he'll look at the old draft shaft. He can tell me, he'll probably be able to find where the actual dent or bend is, but there's not like a big dent on it, but it's definitely out of center. Like,
okay, I'm going inside. It's raining, man.
Yeah, it's a great video. You look great, Jeff.
I'm gonna join on my phone. It's great, but it's literally starting to pour right now.
Yeah. Well, we'll let you get resettled and we'll just keep on going. This is the beauty of a live podcast is this is just real life. We're in it. Let's see if anybody over at YouTube Live's got anything to say. No, the few people that are watching.
Oh, that's too good.
It must just be on autopilot.
Oh, man. You gotta let me in, LJ. You gotta let me in.
There he is.
All right.
Oh, I saw some
lightning behind Jeff right now, like lit up the whole sky twice now. Lightning back to back. This is nuts.
Yeah, it was wild.
Oh yeah, he's got a full on storm.
Man, I feel like
storm coming in. Don't leave that fire burning, Jeff. Make sure you put it out before you go inside.
What's that?
Only you can prevent forest fires.
I think the rain's going to take care of itself right here and get it out. So
that's like half wood. That's so.
I don't think we'll have to worry about that.
Yeah, I think you should just take some more time outside and try to put that fire out before those storms.
Yeah, let me just hang outside for a few more minutes here.
Oh. This is like listening to like live radio in the morning, right?
We got some storm chasers coming in.
It was like full on lightning.
What's the weather report, Jeff?
Cloudy with a chance of meatballs. Oh man.
Oh geez. Well, yeah. So while Jeff does that, that's pretty much all I did. I did find out today though that my axles are like a week from shipping.
Which means scrambler axles.
Yeah. Nice. If you remember, I ordered them back in January. So they're in assembly right now, and should be shipped out in a week, which is really exciting because it's Jeep season right now. We've been driving to the ball fields, and I've been like, man, this is primetime Jeep weather. We should be rolling over here in the scrambler.
Oh, absolutely.
So they get in. I ordered my wheels today. I decided to use my old 35s that I took off the Land Cruiser for now.
Okay.
Because it was a lot cheaper to order 4 steel wheels than it is to order a new set of 35s.
For sure.
That fit a 15-inch tire. So I'm going to do that. And then I've got a buyer for these already lined up. He wants to buy the wheels and tires as a set. Yeah. And so I should be able to flop for the price there and get those 35s on that are sitting under my house right now. So
that'll be awesome.
Found a place for those to go.
Yeah.
And then it's time for the scrambler. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it out in the world. I put it out in the world today to a few people. I'm gonna put it out in the world, maybe it comes true that it might be done by the time Rome 4 Low has their Windrock ride. And
that'll be cool.
I might just take it up there for its inaugural trail run out at Windrock.
Ooh, that'll be sick.
Because
it'll be fully dialed at that point.
Try out the lockers, get everything, really dialed in. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if a shakedown run at Windrock's the wisest. I'll probably try to tow it.
That's probably the wisest.
I do have some PTSD from getting stuck in the middle of Kentucky with that Jeep. So, towing it might be a good idea for this first run.
Yeah. Smart.
But yeah, so that part of the restoration is about to be underway again, which is exciting. It's been sitting for 6-7 months now, waiting. Even longer than that. I think it's summertime.
I feel like
is when. So almost a year it's been sitting. Just I started up about once a month. Started up today.
Okay.
Let it run, get hot. Pull it around the block time or two just to keep everything moving.
Sure.
Not that it matters because it's all going to be
gutted anyway.
Yeah. But just try to keep it loose.
Loose. Yep.
So that's going to be moving soon. Hopefully in a month we'll have the Jeep back running and it'll be back in the fleet as a regular commuter.
Nice.
And I can stop putting so many miles on the Land Cruiser because it breaks a whole lot less when you only drive it on expeditions. I will say that. At 275,000 miles, the more miles you put on it, the closer you get to something else breaking. Which is maybe a good segue into what we're going to talk about tonight, which is what you want to look for when you're out buying a 100 series. And so talking to the regulars, and I've had a couple of buddies of mine and a couple of listeners actually had reached out asking, if we had any information on 100 series Land Cruisers and kind of what they should go look for. And at one point, Steve and I did a common maintenance items on a 100 series Land Cruiser, which is a good start, but doesn't really go into really like what are, like when you're going out to buy one, what are you looking for? Like what's a good example? What years are preferred over other years?
Yeah.
Is there a certain mileage thing we want to look at? Right. Because a lot of these right now are going, I'm getting pictures from my buddy, one of my close friends who's looking, and he's sending me, he'll send me one every 2 to 3 days that he pops up. And these people are asking some mighty proud prices.
They're getting up there.
Yeah.
For some 200,000 mile Land Cruisers.
I know.
Yeah. And you don't have as many choices as you used to back, when that Slee wrote that guide. So it's not like you're going to be picking and choosing with.
That's right.
These cruisers. You only have one or two options usually within your budget when you're buying these things now. So
yeah. Whenever I looked, I was back in 2019, and 2019. It was the end of that summer is when I ended up buying it. But whenever I got mine, I had about a 2-hour range that I would drive, and I'd probably get
2-hour radius.
1 to 2 Land Cruisers a day, 100 series that would come in.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is today. I don't have all those alerts set up and kind of timing there, but locally you might have one a week that would come up in Nashville at a dealer, private party, whatever. And so now, I mean, I'm sure it's maybe in that same range, maybe a little bit lower, but it's not any better. I know that you don't have more people selling Land Cruisers right now.
No.
So we thought we'd go through based on that, and just, all of us owning a 100 series and going through this process, we thought we'd talk a little bit about our processes and what we look for, and give some folks a little bit of a guide here. And so we're going to actually pull up the Slee 100 series newbie guide, which is a really great tool and resource if you are out there and just thinking about, hey, I might want to go out and grab a 100 series. I don't really know where to start. And these prices are high. So like, kind of, how do I become an educated buyer? And I think in today's world, everyone wants to be an educated buyer. So here's a little more education for you. So I'm pulling up the guide here, and we'll kind of start, if y'all want, guys, just kind of, some of this is like basic stuff, like how to inspect a used truck. And so one thing that I don't know about y'all, but I pretty much didn't look at anything north of Kentucky.
Oh no!
Here,
there's no way I would have looked anywhere
on the East Coast.
Yeah. Kentucky is my limit. I won't touch anything. And I guess that's for our West Coast listeners, it's because that region is considered. Is it the Salt Belt? Yeah, the Salt Belt.
Yeah,
and they love,
or the Rust Belt.
The Rust Belt. That's what I've heard it as well too. They love to salt their roads, and so it just, everything that I've heard from people working and wrenching on rusty 100 series, they're like, spend the extra coin to either the travel or to find a clean example. But yeah, I agree with you, LJ. Nothing north of Kentucky, and even some examples in Kentucky I'm like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah. It's just they've been on the road so long, and if they spend, it really it becomes a problem when they've spent multiple years consecutively up north, when it's like plus 3 years in Ohio. I'm like, nah, bro.
No way.
Because you can actually open the hood on those, and all of your metal screws and fasteners under the hood are going to be rusted, right? Like that's when it's bad. Like
that's when you know it's a bad car.
Yeah. Like when you see rust that is on your fasteners under the hood, and here's one thing that dealerships will try to do too, right? They'll coat the bottom of the car, so when you take a glance under it, you see that it's black paint and it's okay. But when you open the hood, you'll see the rust on those fixtures, or if you look in the suspension areas, you'll see where they can't get to it, or overspray on the back of tires is a good way to notice too, or back of wheels, overspray of paint. So those are some things to look for when you're looking at these, that you might say, hey, it's been up there a little bit, but it's been taken care of. They'll say that they did a dry ice clean or a whatever. All these, there's a ton of things you can do out there to try to treat them. But at the end of the day, like that salt finds its way into everything. Yeah. And the simplest repair of maybe just changing shocks, the shop's going to charge you double the labor because they know every bolt's going to burn a break, and they're going to have to, basically like burn out everything they change.
Yep.
And it's so different being out here on the East Coast, because you have to worry about that, where on the West Coast, you don't really get those cars coming out to California. It's a lot of desert. You do get the beach cars. So my buddy had a brand new.
Ask about that. Yeah.
Yeah. My buddy had a brand new Chevy Duramax, and I think it was 6 years old. He bought it brand new, and he lived on the beach. Like literally across the street was the beach. And it had rust going through the roof. The frame was rusting. He had an H1 Hummer where the coil springs rusted and just cracked in half.
Wow.
Oh no.
And it's just as bad, because you just have that ocean mist from the waves just blowing on it. All of the houses, like beachfront, you can see all the nails and everything on the siding all rusting too. So that's where you get the rust from. You don't get it from vehicles that have salted roads. So it's an interesting thing to be here and realizing that now.
Yeah. It's serious. You basically, like I said, so when I was doing my search, I just Kentucky, like basically Clarksville, Tennessee is an area that's like around the Kentucky line. And so if that was kind of my max, like I would maybe look in Clarksville, but even Clarksville gets more snow than Nashville. Like they still get another week extra of snow, just that 1 hour north.
Yep.
So so one of the first things, they do.
Okay.
So every time that, it rains here or snow, or it's going to snow, they salt it. And so you pretty much, there's probably 5 or 6 times over the winter where you want to run your car through a car wash and get the undercarriage cleaned out to get all that off. It'll catch up to you.
Yeah, it sure will.
Other things on the body. Oh, wait, before we go too much further, I know there are some unique places in the 100 series Land Cruisers where rust can develop and give you a really bad problem, but it might not be because of salty roads. It could be because of water leaks.
I thought you were going to talk about something else that you experienced, but the water leaks.
It is one of them, but I was going to go with the tailgate. So that's an area that you see a lot of people have to replace, is the, I guess more of the hatch.
Yeah.
So the third brake light housing will leak. There's a gasket, very thin rubber gasket that obviously just cracks and wears out over time. And water will get down in there and just sit in that hatch, and you'll see a lot of them where they'll start rusting out right on the Land Cruiser logo nameplate there on the back. Then you also have one behind the bumper cover on the back as well. That was the one, Steve, you were talking about. I had that. I've seen multiple Land Cruisers have that. And there's an AC drain line that runs from the air conditioner in the back of the Land Cruiser down through the body, and it goes through this compartment that sits right behind your tire or your wheel well. And it's just a it's a compartment, and it's just an airtight compartment. And this AC line over time will leak and have condensation and all these things. And apparently one side of mine leaked. And when we took the bumper cover off to get ready for the 4x4 laps bumper, we found this hole. I was like,
I remember that. Yeah.
I was like, well, we got to fix this before I put this bumper on, because if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not going to.
He's not taking the bumper off and doing all that.
No, I'm not. And so, so luckily I had a really good friends, Nick, that told me to come over that night, and we put a patch on there and got her taken care of. But I know John, who does the tech talks for us, he had the same problem on his. I've seen it a few other places as well, where that's a problem. And then another one is also behind the front drivers, like that kind of quarter panel fender area. I see a lot of Land Cruisers end up getting rust right there. And I think that's another compartment too, where water gets behind that plastic fender guard, and water sits in that area, and sediment can get in there. And if it gets in there, it can't drain. Water will sit there and start to rust through that as well. But those are some other areas to look at as you're just walking around, looking at the car, to try to see if those areas have had rust. Which the area behind the rear wheel well that I was talking about that hit me, like, that's not really a bad area. You can get that patched pretty easily, but you could probably also get a grand taken off the asking price.
Yeah.
If you find it.
Spot that. Yeah. Oh, definitely. That one's hard to spot though, without taking the whole bumper off.
So you can just like pull the bumper cover out and see it.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay. So then that's super easy to check then.
Yeah. I found that. I found it on a couple of them that I was looking at when I was looking at Land Cruisers. I found it. And so I had seen it before. I never checked on this one because it was so clean that I didn't think like there's no, like, I can't find rust anywhere. So there's no way there's rust, but that's sure enough. That's what you get, LJ. That's why you run through a checklist. So that those are the most areas that I see about rust. But if there's one that's rusted, just walk away and just take your time. If you think it's bad, just wait, because they're out there. The good ones are out there, and it's going to be so much easier for you to maintain it, especially if you're buying it at 200,000 miles. You're going to have to do maintenance. You're going to have to pay for it. So it's not
you're going to have to do it somewhere.
So either you're going to be dealing with it, or a mechanic is. And if a mechanic's dealing with it, they're charging you every hour they're having to deal with it, because they're pissed.
The extra tax for sure.
Yep. While we're on body, another thing I notice a lot is checking how the paint matches across panels.
Okay.
So
another way, maybe one that you have experience with.
No, I haven't had this problem. But like, if you look at like wrecked vehicles, like they'll do a repaint on them, and you can tell if they've done a good job or not, because those panels, like the fenders, might not match.
Exactly.
You're talking about my door.
Your door, yeah.
You actually see that. You can see the paneling is a different color, the trim piece.
Well, it's because you can paint amazing, but you can't ever like replicate wear or like sun damage or just oxidation of the paint, right? So
typically they don't fade over door panels. They fade to a crack, and then that's it.
Yeah. So if you see a car that the seller's saying is clean and hasn't been in a wreck, and then you see that the front fender and the front door don't match exactly, that's a lie. And so just some things that, like, as you're walking around the vehicle, just see how close they match. And if you're walking around it and you're looking for how close they match, you're going to notice if one doesn't, because the hood's also not going to match that fender as well. So you'll be able to figure that out pretty quickly and see that. I'm trying to think outside of that, check your VIN numbers.
Looking inside the door jambs too. So looking inside the door jambs, you can see if there's overspray, if they sprayed something. Like my wife's 100 Series has a little bit of paint. You can see where they has a little bit of orange peel on the back quarter panel, and you can see where there's a little bit of like clear coat overspray where they didn't actually paint it correctly. So not a big deal, but you can tell. And then obviously knocking, like tapping on the panel, you can hear when there's Bondo. And my 80 Series, oh my God.
I've never been able to do that. So what is it like how different is the sound? I guess I want to try that next time I'm with you so I can hear it.
So yeah, just tap on my 80. It's pretty much 90% Bondo, I think 10% metal. Just tap on it. And it's kind of like finding the stud in the wall.
Okay.
You have to just tap, 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 and then you can kind of hear the pitch change, and it's less echoey, and it's more like a thud when you hit like a dense material.
Yeah, kind of like hitting a piece of wood compared to a hollow piece of metal or something.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's a different pitch, and you can tell.
Yeah, I'm trying to think other body stuff. I mean, you're gonna get some older examples that probably have, especially they've been in the desert areas. You might see like the hood.
Yeah,
could be the paint could be fading and stuff, but those are things that'll happen.
Certain types of or certain colors of Toyota paint, the clear coat peels off real easy. So like I know the salsa reds. Walker, our buddy, has a salsa red GX, and I know we're talking about Land Cruisers. But that salsa red,
it's basically a Land Cruiser.
Basically,
yeah. Basically, Land Cruiser.
Jalopink or whoever that writer is listening. No, like certain colors will have like clear coat peeling on it. So, kind of obvious, but that's like an obvious thing, right? Like you can clearly see when clear coat is peeling.
But that's something to check out. If you got somebody saying it's a perfect example, call them out on it.
Yeah.
Thinking outside of body, outside of it being wrecked, and you know that, check the Carfax, and you'll be able to see where it was wrecked, and then you can kind of look in those areas to see if anything looked crinkled or not repaired correctly.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. But body wise, it's pretty much the same across the board. Outside of those couple areas where water can leak in. You could pour water at the end of, on top of the Land Cruiser, and try and see if it leaks anywhere, because that'll help. That'll give you an idea.
I'd like to buy your Land Cruiser, but I want to take the.
I want to spray a water hose to the top of it and see if it leaks. Some of them leak. You'll probably also be able to smell the ones that leak on the inside as well.
Probably.
I was thinking of something else and I lost it.
You mentioned VINs, like VIN numbers.
VINs. Yeah. I had something else.
Speaking of VIN numbers, a guy that I follow on Instagram, or an account I follow on Instagram, it's called Cruising the Land. He was looking at buying an 80, but he checked Carfax and the VIN number and all that, and he found that there's an odometer discrepancy.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
You saw that too? Yeah, where like someone rolled back like 80,000, or I don't know, maybe it was 20,000 miles. I'm not sure what it was.
It didn't match up.
Yeah, it didn't match up.
I thought it was like 40,000 miles.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was 40,000 miles. I'm glad we all saw that.
I remember seeing it, and I remember feeling like the mileage wasn't wasn't enough to really be like, what?
Oh,
like it was just, you know what I mean? Like if you're gonna roll it back, like roll it back, dog. Like make some money if you're gonna do it. Like don't just
you're driving
do
a
it a little bit.
You don't even have to. You don't even have to roll it back.
if you're gonna be illegal, be illegal. Like don't.
You're already there.
Don't half-ass illegal it. Like go full bore if you're gonna do it. Sorry, Steve. My random thoughts of when I saw that.
That's what. I mean, just simple things like that. And I guess maybe that to me stood out because it's like, honestly, like I don't really look at the VIN or the when I see a Carfax, I don't really look at the mileage. I look at the total mileage, but I don't look at the individual mileage of each, service history there. So I just always assume that it's right. So just pay attention to that a little bit closer.
They could have had a gauge cluster go out and replace the gauge cluster with a used one, and it had less mileage in it, I guess, and that could have been the reason.
Yeah.
If you did that, it's really hard to roll it back. Actually program it? Can't you program it at the dealer?
I think you're supposed to. If you do that, you're supposed to put the mileage to where it was
back
before.
To what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, "Oh, it had a rebuilt motor at 200,000 miles," and you're like, "Oh yeah, sure, okay."
Yeah.
Sounds good, dude.
Yeah.
Jeep had a rebuilt motor. I was rebuilding it again in like 1,000 miles.
Yeah,
man.
Ooh.
You got to watch out those rebuilt motors, but you got to watch out. Well, this isn't this is getting a little bit outside of Jeeps or outside of Land Cruisers, but what I've learned on rebuilt motors is a freshly rebuilt motor is always suspect. Always.
Oh, interesting.
Suspect.
Okay.
If it's freshly rebuilt, that means someone hasn't put mileage on it, and probably means that it might not be the best build, and they're trying to get out from under it before it completely blows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's smart. So, that's something I wouldn't have thought of.
Like, not to get too sidetracked off that.
Yeah.
But my Land Cruiser is a salvage title. I bought it knowing that. I knew it was that, but it's a 1997. It was totaled in 2000. So it was 3 years old, and it took enough damage. So it took what, $20,000 for the damage to supposedly to fix it. So it was obviously enough damage to total it at 3 years old. But the car has
driven, it's been totaled for that long.
Yeah, it's been totaled for that long. So what that tells me is obviously it drives perfectly fine because it had like 30,000 miles on it when it was totaled.
Yeah.
They fixed it. They had it painted at a Mako paint job in San Diego, which was a gray off paint color. And they fixed it, and it's fine, and it runs and drives straight. So it's that.
Is that the one you get from Ace Hardware, or is that the Rust-Oleum?
Well, that's a different one.
What's on your list?
I don't know. I gotta like scrape.
I'm just joking on Mako.
Take it. Yeah, I gotta take it in there. But what that shows me, you know, talking about the freshly rebuilt engine, like this is not a freshly salvaged title. It wasn't like someone bought it and did a shitty job fixing it just to sell it.
Yeah.
It has had 175,000 miles on it since it's been totaled. So it obviously works. The radiator's not cracked and it's going to blow, you know, it obviously was done right. So, or I guess somewhat right.
Yeah. I always try to see if it's had like over 5,000 miles on a rebuilt engine. Makes me feel comfortable that the build has been quality.
Yeah.
Because I've got about 4,000 now on this engine that we've rebuilt, and now I'm starting to be like, okay, like I'm not nervous that it might blow up at any so get in it, because after that happens twice, you're like, okay, like is this thing ever gonna be right? Like is this cursed? Do I need to just sell this one, start over with something new? What's going on with the world here? But it makes you feel good. I did a startup today, so I was like, okay, she's still good.
Nice.
Fresh startup. Hadn't been started for a month and right back in it. I was like, gotta love the fuel injection, those 4.0s.
Nice.
Back to Land Cruisers though. So we belabored body. If your Land Cruiser has a rebuilt engine in it, make sure it's got some miles on it before you do it. Or if it's been swapped with something, make sure it wasn't just recently swapped. Those are suspect.
Yeah.
Yep. Electrical is next on Slee's list, unless there's anything else in the body that you would say check out. Rust areas, the tailgate, look at that area, look for paint bubbling around that area. And under the bumper covers, check for rust in those areas. Otherwise, look under the car and you'll be able to see pretty quickly if it has rust. Pop the hood. You can look at the metal fixtures in there and see how it is too, and that can give you a good example. Outside of that, make sure the paint looks normal. That kind of covers body. We miss anything?
I think we covered body pretty good.
It's pretty solid. It's pretty solid.
And
we should just be like guys that do this regularly now. We're getting so good at it.
Consultation.
And when you're looking at a cruiser, it's really hard to remember. Like, did you have this printed out and you're like going item by item?
I did always have this on my phone. Yeah. And I would kind of like it would help me. Like it really did help because it's a social, it's not only you're looking at a car, but it's also a social situation. So if you're at a dealership, you've got someone who's trying to pressure you into buying that car in the next hour. So they're asking you questions and they're trying to build a relationship with you while you're just trying to look for a car. And it's okay. Like I know what they're doing, it's their job, but you're being distracted from
from what you're looking at.
Yeah. And that's part of the game. It's part of the tactic. And so I would always have this pulled up so I could kind of, I looked at so many of them. I really did, guys. 'Cause I was pretty picky. I wanted everything to work if I was going to buy one. Yeah. And so I waited until I found one where everything worked. But yeah, I'd have it on my phone. And by the time I went through like 10 of these, I probably looked at like probably 20 to 30 100 series and probably 10 80 series when I did this.
Yeah.
And I would have my phone up, and after like the first 5 to 10, it was a routine.
Yeah.
I would like, walk, I talk to him like, okay, I'm going to go do an inspection of the car. Mm-hmm. And then I would just like take the key with me and just go through my kind of lists.
Yeah.
And it's about 10 minutes it would take me to go through everything and look it all over. But
nice.
That's kind of what I would, it's kind of what you have to get into. Like you're inspecting a vehicle. Like at this point, you're not just, when I got my wife's Yukon, it wasn't nearly as intense because it was a 4-year-old vehicle.
Sure.
So you weren't looking for things that wear out in 200,000 miles to see if they've been replaced once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I pretty much had this on my phone.
Nice.
Walking around, doing it while I was checking it out. And I was gonna say too, as we're getting into this is something you can pay for. Like you can pay an independent shop $100,
mm-hmm.
and they'll do a maintenance inspection and come back and give you everything that needs to be done to that vehicle to make it roadworthy and in tip-top shape. And so if you're looking to buy one and you just don't know, and you're spending $15K, I'd spend $100 of insurance and
for sure.
know what I'm getting into before I get into it. Right. Cause that can make or break it for you. Right. You might think it's great. And then it gets into it. And cause they also have, the guy that bought my Tahoe, he worked at Chevrolet. And so he actually brought one of their readers with him. It was like, hey, do you mind if I check the history on it? I can go back and see, he can see all the check engine lights that I delete off of my Land Cruiser right now.
Yeah.
You can see the history in those and see that. And so there were, if you pay for an inspection, they can do those, run those tests and see if there's been, you can clear the CAT code for the catalytic converters with nothing, with an OBD2 reader and the torque app.
Yeah.
And so if someone was looking at my Land Cruiser, they would drive it for a month and then they would get a CAT code. Like that's what'll happen. But if you have one of those readers, you can see and know that, oh, the cats are going out on this. Did you fix them? If they don't have proof that they fixed it or did anything, then you know that you want to walk away maybe.
Yeah.
Speaking of cats are a pretty big deal. They're like $1,000 a pop.
Yeah.
Cars.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
So having something that might be able to check the history on those cats is a good idea. Because mine are making funny noises, not noises, but they're throwing codes.
Yeah.
And we don't have emissions, so I'm not too worried about it. But it probably will affect the drivability at some point. And I'll have to get it figured out. But cats are important. They're expensive. It kind of gets into, so I'm going to come back here. We're all over the place a little bit. But electrical, Jeff, you're huge on electrical here, man. What do you see when you're looking at these cars? Man. Do you get into the electrical side of it when you're looking at like 100 series?
I didn't look at, my buying experience was completely different than what you did. Both of the Land Cruisers I bought, they were so cheap that it was such a deal that I was just trying to buy it and get it. I showed up with the cash buying it no matter what, kind of. So it didn't really matter. I honestly didn't look at like anything on my 80. The only thing I cared about was, did the front locker and the rear locker work? And did it drive? That was literally the only thing. It had a blown head gasket, it had a salvage title. The thing was in, it needed work. But
that's actually something, and to touch base on that, I've heard of guys that will say, they won't say, but they've seen a vehicle that says, oh yeah, it has front and rear lockers and it has a switch for it, but it's not hooked up to anything. And so people are being.
I've seen a couple articles talking about that, but yeah, that was the first thing I did. So I was like,
"That's garbage! Holy cow!"
Shitty. Because you could buy the switch for $30, put it right in there, and say, "Oh yeah, front and rear locked." And then how are you going to check that unless if you know?
What a fucking chode!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
the way you check it is you go drive down the street, you put it in 4 low, and you put the front and rear lockers, and you do U-turns.
Yeah.
And that's how you check it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and I literally was in a neighborhood down in San Diego, like in the middle of downtown, doing a probably a 7-point U-turn with the front and rear lockers on in 4 low on the street.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing was like porpoising like crazy.
Yeah.
And I couldn't steer, and then I was committed. So then I was in the middle of the street, blocking the street, trying to get the thing unlocked. Finally got it. And I came back and I was like, all right, cool, I'll buy it. And I had to tow it home. So checking those things. When I bought my wife's 100 series, the locker switch had cobwebs on it. And I have a picture. And there's literally cobwebs on the locker switch.
So never
and
used.
The guy I bought it from was a cop.
Yeah.
And he said the previous owner bought it brand new, and it was an Asian family, an upper class Asian family that bought it brand new.
Yeah.
And they said that they just used it to drive to work.
Yeah.
So the car had never been in the dirt. It's the rear locker had never been used.
Wow.
The cop didn't know what the 4-wheel drive high-low switch was. So it had never been put in 4-wheel drive low. So that shifter was like, it was kind of stuck. You really had to kind of jam it in to get it in there because it had never been moved.
Yeah.
So yeah, I checked that, put it in 4 low, the rear locker, I think it's seized up. It just doesn't work. I never needed it. Because if you don't use it, the thing is just going to get stuck there and just get gunked up. So electrical stuff, checking for blown fuses. The main thing is making sure there's no check engine light. And when you get in the car, turn the key on. You should see the check engine light turn on. Once you start the vehicle, the check engine light will turn off.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. Make sure they haven't pulled the bulb out.
Yeah, exactly. Put tape over it or paint it or whatever. So
always try everything, like air conditioning, heat. So I had bought a truck when I was in high school, and I bought it in the wintertime and never tried the air conditioning.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense,
Then in the summertime, I had no air conditioning.
Yep.
So I always try, like Jeff said, you turn the car on. I try everything, like turn the radio on, turn the radio off, like every single setting of your air conditioning to see if it makes any noises. All your buttons and I try all of it. Seat, move it, because these Land Cruisers too, the seat motors will go out in them, and so
it's common.
That's big on the 80s too, right?
Yeah, the 80s go out. You have to replace the gears. So not to get sidetracked on the 80s, but just checking everything. It's make sure all the speakers work. That's one thing that people don't usually check. The radio, turn it up. The speakers blown. And what you're doing is you're looking for
back and forth in the car, because they can move the fade all the way to the side.
Check all those. And what you're doing is you're trying to find bargaining pieces. You're trying to find a way to have them reduce that price.
Right.
So
at the end of the day, if you really want to buy that, that's something where you can try to knock that price down if you really want it.
Yeah, and it's just the negotiate. Hey, I came here to buy a car that was working. The speakers are blown, the stereo knobs worn out, the seats don't move, blah blah blah, whatever it is.
Yeah. Interior coming down here on that. I think we covered electrical pretty good. Yeah,
I'd say so.
Like try everything. If it's a button, push it, see what it does. If you see wires hanging around on a 100 series, you should probably run, because you shouldn't see any wires on 100 series.
Yeah.
No.
It should be nice and tidy everywhere you look.
Yep.
But yeah, interior, if you're buying one at 200K, you're probably going to have a split in the driver's seat.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
pretty standard. So if you see
My
that,
wife's doesn't.
don't worry.
My wife's
Yeah.
doesn't.
No?
It's good. It's got 250 on it, and it's good. There's a couple like scratches in the leather, but not an actual tear where you can see foam.
Mine finally went at like 260. And then we reupholstered that one and just got it done. But yeah, that's something that you're probably going to see. So don't worry about it. You know, it's been all doom and gloom so far. You're just going to have a little bit of a cracked seat. It's just a part of it. It's about $400 to get replaced. So that's what you can use as your bargaining chip whenever you try to talk down the seller who has it. Outside of that, smell the interior. Like don't turn the car on immediately when you get in, and just sit in there and smell it and see what it smells like. And you'll be able to smell if it has like any mold or mildew smells. So when you turn the car on, the air conditioner will naturally pull moisture out of the air and could have a different smell to it as well, which could hide that. They can put filters in these things that have Febreze smell in them now, and you won't even notice it. So the best time to check it is when that doors are closed, you first open it, you'll be able to smell what the car smells like. Car conditioner, carpets and all that stuff. If you're buying one of these, it should be clean, pretty clean. Carpets should be in good shape. Most of the seats should be in really good shape outside the driver's seat. And you can look for like matching panels and things like that. But yeah, everything should be nice and tidy. You got anything else in the interior? You might have a third row.
The AC in the rear.
Oh,
the rear AC. So
too. Yeah.
I mean, if the AC is leaking, if those lines leak, which they do because the front passenger tire basically throws water up on the AC lines, which are, I think they're aluminum. And it just corrodes it. So aluminum, whatever. Yeah. So it'll actually corrode those. And if the AC doesn't work at all, excuse me, the rear won't work, the front won't work. But, check to make sure it works. The rear heat is run off of coolant lines that run from the engine all the way underneath the vehicle along the frame rail. And there's actually a mini radiator underneath the driver's seat. And that actually has a fan in it and blows for the rear heat. So when you have rear heat turned on, it blows out by the feet. When you have the rear AC on, it blows out in the vents in the top. So check those, make sure it works.
That's good stuff. I didn't even think of that. You have a whole nother system that sits in the back. Well, two actually, because your heat and your air are in different spots.
Yeah,
like you're saying.
2 full systems, and it's like the Tahoes, the old Tahoes and the old Suburbans had rear AC, which is not uncommon, but it does add a lot of cooling potential to the 100 series, which is really nice. And when you have 7 people inside, it's technically seated for 7, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of body heat, and imagine what it's built for. It's built for third world countries, deserts, hot temperatures, and you have 7 people inside. You're going to want some solid AC going.
Yeah. Well, it's a big difference if you just have the front on and don't have the back on, at least the summer around here. I pretty much always have the back on because it cools down and stays so much cooler when both units are running.
Yep.
So we got interior pretty good here, and we're gonna get into drivetrain, which is where drivetrain is where you really start to see a lot of differences in the years, right? And so it might be best to just go down to the year models.
Yeah, let's touch base real quick. Is basically the best way to do it is put the vehicle on a level surface, put it put it in neutral, let your foot off the brake, and then put your foot on the brake to kind of like remove any strain from the drivetrain and go from reverse to drive. And since these are all-wheel drive, there's a lot of components. Think about a spline and when a spline is touching another spline, there's not a perfect fit. There is a little bit of play. So that play along, talking about transfer case, U joints. So there's 2 U joints on the front drive shaft, 2 on the rear. And then you have the spline from the drive shaft into the transfer case. You have the spline or you have the ring and pinion gear from the U joint into the drivetrain. So you have all of these things which can wear out. And that's where a lot of the times you get the reverse to drive clunk on these 100 series and 80 series, because they're just wear all throughout those. And all the way into the axles. The axles have splines that go into the carrier, and then the axle splines go into the hubs. So there's tons of room for wearing out things. And you'll get the reverse to drive clunks, and it sounds pretty bad, even though it's not that bad. Mine has had a clunk ever since I got it, and I've been running it and it's been fine. But it is a wear component, and you will hear it after 150,000 miles. You'll start hearing that clunk, and that's a good thing to bring up and say, that sounds bad. There's a lot of components that need to be replaced. Technically not really, but
it could be a bargaining chip.
Yeah, a bargaining chip. So I would say drivetrain, that's one of the biggest things there.
Yeah. That's an easy first test, right? Like you're in the parking lot and you just stop and go from drive to reverse, to park to reverse to drive, and just kind of go through those and listen. And if it just moves in that direction, you don't hear any clunks, you got a good one for sure. And that's good. Another way to test clunks is if you're coasting and then you hit the gas. That's a way to test clunks too. That'll let you know kind of where everything is as well. I used to have the drive to reverse clunk. We fixed that by replacing the CVs and the flanges. Those were worn out. But I still have a clunk from coast heavy into acceleration. I can ease into the acceleration and there's no clunk, but if it's like coast gas, you'll hear a clunk in mine for sure.
Yeah, and it's even worse when you take it out of overdrive or put it in like second gear and then you slow down and then speed up. You can really hear it then.
Yep. So Slee has some good stuff on here coming into, getting deeper into that. So that the thing is the clunk, a lot of them are going to have clunks, and you're really not going to be able to know what it is unless you take it to an inspection. Unless you're that guy and you're going to take it to a shop yourself and put on the lift and check all those components. But you're talking like, Jeff, I think you had like 8 different components that you'd be checking along with differential bushings and all kinds of stuff that it could be. It could be as easy as greasing your drive shaft, or it could be replacing CVs and
that was one that we forgot is the slip yoke. The slip yoke on the front drive shaft and the rear drive shaft, it's a spline and it intertwines in each other. And you think about it, it just clunk and clunk. I mean, every time you hit the gas or every time you hit the brake or every time you downshift, it's just wearing things out. And it does put more wear and tear on the vehicle with an all-wheel drive vehicle because there's more components. But the thing is if it wasn't an all-wheel drive, you would be wearing out the other components twice as fast. So a rear diff would blow up at 150,000 miles probably. If it was only two-wheel drive or 200,000 miles, it'd be blown up. But you get that extra mileage out of it because it's splitting the amount of wear amongst the front of the vehicle as well as the rear too. So
that rain just came in here. I just heard it hit the garage door. Here's some other stuff in the drivetrain. When you're under it, look for
Or I guess he said leaks.
Right? I think I might have lost you there for a second.
Yeah, there you go. You're back.
I was saying common leaks are like valve covers.
Yep. My valve covers were
those happen a lot.
boys.
You'll smell oil when you turn off the car. After you drive it for a little bit, you'll smell oil. Valve cover leaks are pretty common.
You can just tighten them
power
up.
steering fluid leaks are common at the higher mileage. The return reservoir and hoses get worn out over time, dried up.
Hard
and you got to replace
hard
those.
and dry.
Yep. What other leaks am I missing that are kind of common that you shouldn't worry about too much?
Exhaust leaks in the manifold with the manifold
like
cracking.
a little ticking,
The sewing machine.
If it's a cold time you're testing it out, you can have a first start. That could be a problem.
Yep. Talking about the valve cover, that's what actually killed my first alternator. The valve cover was leaking so much it leaked onto my alternator and just got oil all in it. So some of these issues can compound into bigger issues, which then cost more. So that valve cover gasket is a pretty important one.
It's super important. That oil gets everywhere. It could end up starting a fire on your exhaust manifolds if you're not careful. I'm trying to think, leaks wise, check your axle seals, CV axle seals. If you want to go through the effort of dropping your the skid plate on it. It's only a few bolts. You can see those CV axles that come out of the diff.
Yeah, the inside ones.
Yeah, I can help you out. And then, of course, if you look at the CV boots, you can see if there's any wear on those. Those will leak a lot, and you'll be able to kind of. And if the CV is not bad, it's just the boot.
Too.
Oh, steering rack boots. That's huge because that's a big ticket item. You're talking $2,000 to get that fixed if you're going to a shop.
Yep.
So,
Missouri Adventure said, check the spare tools. Make sure you have your toolkits. He just commented on there.
Yeah. Speaking
Everyone
of,
should have toolkits.
I think there's an account, Dad Adventure Mobile. He has 100 series, and one of his plugs is getting misfires. If you have a complete toolkit, you should have a spark plug remover in there too. So that's a component in that little leather wrapped roll.
Nice.
So
that's pretty nifty. Yeah.
I have the toolkit for my 80. It's a full. It had like the first aid kit too.
Oh, that's cool.
I can't get to it because it's behind my like drawer system, but it's in there.
Nice.
There's a good one. Check the spare tire.
Yeah. Yep.
It's the crank. The crank on the spare tire gets seized on these, and that's why I have mine strapped down with tie-down straps because it broke. They get corroded because no one ever uses them.
Yeah.
Because Land Cruisers don't get flat tires.
Make sure that your spare is the same size because these are all-wheel drive vehicles. You can't be running multiple size tires. So I think there's a tolerance. Before we move on, check the radiator. Mine was kind of browning, right? And that's as that plastic heats and contracts, it'll start browning and cracking. And so that's an easy visual thing. You could just say, look at it and be like, okay, well, there's little hairline fractures and cracks in there. You can kind of negotiate that down a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing that'll kill these trucks is a coolant shortage. That's
heater tees. That's after you buy it.
Yeah.
After. But if you're buying from a cruiser head and that's not done, they're not a cruiser head.
Facts.
Is it bad to say that I've never checked my wife's heater tees?
Never. They're gonna check you if you're not careful. Especially since we talked about it now. You got to do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check them. I haven't touched that car. I literally haven't touched anything on that car in 3 years.
Wow. Yeah.
You better keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, you better.
You're just digging a bigger hole right now.
He is. Yeah.
I was reading some more things talking about driving. So one thing I did too was I drove around for like 30 minutes. Like I did not rush through a test drive. I don't know. I just was like, if I'm going to test drive it, I'm test driving it. Like there were a couple times when we were in these Yukons when they get back, like, I don't know if you're coming back. I was like, you have my phone number, bro. You're good.
Yeah. A good tip is to go get, like, if you're test driving, go get lunch. Well, I did that when I bought my Jeep. We were in like Valdosta, Georgia. We drove the Jeep around for 30 minutes, got lunch. We were able to talk about it, be able to think about it. Because like you mentioned, this is a very high pressure environment if you're buying it from a car dealership. Being able to just kind of relax over lunch and take your mind out of the car buying phase of, thinking and overthinking and processing, and then coming back to it fresh, you'll discover so much more. Because there's like an excitement, if you're buying a new car, there's like that excitement. And so taking that hard break of like, okay, we're not going to talk about the car. Maybe you want to talk about the car, but not with it right in front of you, enticing you. Take a lunch on or go get coffee or something. Just take a break during the test drive.
It's also a really good way to get a better deal if you can walk out.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. They'll call you back.
Yeah, they will. So we know that test drive it at different speeds, take it on the highway, hit it at 70, 75, run 50, 55, just kind of make sure you're doing some hard braking at those speeds as well to make sure there's not any vibration in the brakes, those kind of things. But yeah, coming into the actual year models, which is what I've been itching to get to this phase, because this is the most exciting part. And two of my favorite years of the US Land Cruiser, 98 and 99, because they had rear lockers.
Yep. Only Land Cruisers though. LXs
the only
have.
Yep. And so we'll also go through a little bit of the differences between the LXs and Land Cruisers. Fun fact about the LXs, we talked about this earlier, they didn't have selectable lockers, electronic lockers in the back like the Land Cruisers, but they did have a limited slip differential to where it'll engage if you start to it starts to feel slippage in the back there. So both options did come with some type of I would say locker assembly in 98, 99, but that was the last year that a selectable locker was seen in a Land Cruiser from the factory.
They didn't have A-Track at that point though, right? So 98, 99 did not have A-Track. So
there we go.
That's something to keep in mind. And that was across, LX or a Land Cruiser. They just, at that point, A-Track wasn't a thing in Land Cruisers.
But was A-Track the answer to the locker at that point? Like, hey, we're going to spend money on
it was.
Intelligence
I think it was,
of the braking system instead of the steel that's needed for a locker and the wiring and all that extra stuff.
Yeah.
It was, I feel like it was more of a luxury item because they had they came out with the 80s and they had, people needed these rear lockers front and rear. And then they built this IFS, and I think it was their way of building a vehicle that was more capable without any effort or touching anything. But that's just my thought of it. And they're like, you know what, you could literally just put it in 4-wheel drive low and you don't really have to do much. Like they don't really talk about like, limited throttle or anything, but you can kind of tell like when you overpower it, like it wouldn't work. But I don't know, I think it was just like a luxury type thing where it's just like it's just on and it's just on by default.
It helps all around too, right? It's not just selecting it and using it. You have it when it's raining as a anti-braking system. You have it all over the place. It's used in multiple varieties. So I'd agree with that. It's more of a luxurious, it's helping in a lot more ways than just the lockers would. Unless you're out trying to get rowdy with your friends and do dumb shit in it, and then you really want your lockers.
That's true.
Although for some reason Toyota didn't see that as a target market for their 25-year-old vehicles. I don't see why the hell they missed that.
They did not.
A couple other things for when they came out in 98, they had 4-speed transmissions. They went to a 5-speed in 2003. That's a big change.
Yep.
The differential was different. As I understand, it was a little bit weaker until I think 2000 is when, 2000 is when they upgraded the differential. But this goes into the pandemic known as the 100 Series Land Cruiser front differential blowage pandemic.
Yes. Yep.
I think it's a novel pandemic in the last couple of years as well.
Yeah.
But
I know a bunch of people have grenaded their fronts.
We're seeing a lot of, and honestly, mine's an 03 and I graded mine, and it has the beefiest front diff you could have. Yeah. I think putting 35s on a Land Cruiser and getting rowdy up hills and rocks and stuff. Yeah.
What's interesting though?
It's just going to blow them up after a while.
Lee, the gentleman we've had on a couple times.
Mr. Sumner. Mr. Sumner.
He's seen more late model, like more 4-pinion grenade than 2 pinions in his personal experience. Now, does that mean because there's more 4 pinions on the road? I'm not sure, but he's seen more 4 pinions than 2 pinions. So I think the consensus is that the 2 pinions are just weaker just because of the design of them. But that is something to consider, if you're going to wheel hard and use it for what it was built for, keep that in mind.
And I think it goes to the same concept that we've been kind of preaching ever since we started talking about this is you have a vehicle with 200,000 plus miles that has not had a front differential rebuild. So there's that play that what we just talked about, that drivetrain clunk, and you have 200 plus thousand miles wearing out on that front drivetrain. Typically in a 4-wheel drive vehicle, it doesn't even put any wear and tear on that front differential until it goes into 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
It's all free spinning. So with this vehicle, it's always 4-wheel drive.
Yep.
And you're wearing that out every single time you hit the gas. So that's the same concept that I've been saying is it was already fucked to begin with. You were going to blow it anyways. You could hit a curb at Walmart and blow the front diff just as easy as you could on a rock obstacle. That's just my thought.
Yeah.
It's a better story if you're on a rock obstacle, just saying.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have told anybody if I missed mine. I've been in a parking lot. I'd have been so embarrassed.
No, it was just time for a front diff. I
was driving down the road. She just blew up. It was crazy. I was not in Publix parking lot getting groceries when this happened. 2000, you mentioned earlier, Steve, A-Track hits the scene.
Yep.
And lockers are gone.
Yep.
Differentials beefed up to a 4-pinion unit. And I think maybe looking at Lee's numbers too on those 4 pinions, you're talking about 7 years compared to 2 years of manufacturing.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a lot more 4 pinions out there just naturally.
Yeah, definitely.
Not to say there's not something there, but not much happens in 2001 except interior, a lot of upgrades here.
A lot of looks like safety.
Child restraint systems, the anchors, those are nice when you got the car seats.
Yeah, I didn't have anchors on my 2000.
The one touch up and down auto glass function. I love to tell Erica that her Yukon doesn't even have as luxury of items as my Land Cruiser does.
I love that feature, man.
Yeah,
it's a nice feature for sure.
I think my 80
the
has
Yukon has them on the front, but not the back.
Oh,
yeah,
Yukon doesn't have them in the back.
Yep.
What's your 80? Is your 80 on both of them too, or is it just?
No, I think it's just in the driver.
Okay.
I think it's just in the driver window for my 80.
That's one of those like seat warmer type of nice things. Like,
yeah,
it's not going to break the bank for you, but man, it's real nice when
it's real nice
you can just, you're done.
Yep.
You get a compass. This never worked for me. Someone has clipped the wires that went to the rearview mirror, so I've never had any of that functionality.
Oh, that sucks.
You know how that happened?
They put in a rearview camera and changed out.
Oh, they did. Oh,
yeah. And then when I bought it, it was like barely hanging on. It like broke off, and so
I was gonna
luckily
say the window
they
guy
had
did
the
it.
original one included, and so I went ahead and put it back up. But it does. I didn't do the wiring. I was like, I'm good.
Oh man,
Probably should have.
Yeah, because if you don't have that automatic glare resistant thing, if I think that's what it is, that's super nice.
yeah, because my
When-
wife's doesn't.
Oh yeah, see when the sun is like going down, all of the mirrors will turn blue, and it just prevents a glare, or someone coming up
That's
behind
a nice
you
touch.
with their unadjusted lights on their lift to 2500 HD. There's no sour feelings about that.
I just see you sitting with your top hat.
I need some like some Baja designs on my tent that I can flip a switch and just blind the hell out of them. It's like assholes. Anyways, moving on. DVD player is cool.
Yeah, I didn't have the DVD player, man. It wasn't an option that was there. But yeah, those are pretty neat. No major changes in O2.
No.
And this is also a big change too, because this is 2003 and later. A lot happens in 2003 on these vehicles.
Yeah.
Most people I talk to that are looking, I give the same advice. I say, try to find just a 2003 and up if you can. Like,
yeah,
it's going to be a little bit nicer. You have a little bit more creature comforts, and it's going to have the better, the beefer drivetrain, all those things. I don't necessarily go like deep to like go 06, 07, but like I do say, if you can, try to find an 03 and up. Like those are going to be where your money is going to be best spent. So there's some updated designs. Nothing crazy.
When did we get 17-inch wheels? I've never seen that.
I never got those. I had the 18-inch wheels.
I have 18s too, but I didn't know 17s were an option.
I didn't either. Those would have been really nice to have.
I want 17s. That's why I'm so curious. Curious.
I like the 16s, man. 16s are common.
Shout out to John, man. He got me a set of 16s, 5 16s for free. So he
nice.
drove up to Bowling Green, picked them up for me, and I didn't even ask for them. He knew that I was, I wanted to go a little bit smaller than 18s, and so he went up there, grabbed them for me, and said, "Hey, when can you come get these?"
Heck yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool. So,
well, are you going to put 35s on those 16s? Sorry, I can't just drive by that.
My plan right now is not to go 35s. Like I'm comfortable with 33s. And
255s.
255s, you said?
255 85s.
Okay.
315 75s.
Christ.
Okay. Go 305s. Go 305s.
Split the difference. Okay. Split the difference with 80%. No. So I just want more sidewall. At the end of the day, that's all it boils down to. I don't want to
2 inches.
Huh?
That's like basically an inch more sidewall.
Yeah. So I just want a little bit more sidewall. Plus, they are free, so I could save a little bit on tires and still be good. So
yeah.
I mean, ideally, I would love 17. 17s would be kind of the perfect fit for me, but
you should find some 03 17s out there.
I don't know. I had no idea 17s were a thing.
If you have 17s, let us know.
Yeah.
Find us on Instagram or something. Let us know if you have seen the elusive 17-inch wheel.
The only Toyota 17s in our bolt pattern that I know of are the Rock Warriors.
Yeah, the Tundras.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why I'm kind of shocked to see that.
Yandra. Some more interior changes.
Yep.
Dash, handles, screen just changed, and this is also the year that you can now upgrade to the Tesla screens in 03 and up.
Yep.
Also in 02 and under, you can put in like a regular double din CD player too, and you can do that also, which you can't do in 03 and up because you have to integrate the AC controls.
Yep.
Steering wheel controls, those are nice when you're wheeling. You can turn the music up without having to take the
that is nice.
Your hands off the wheels. That feels good.
Got 5 more horsepower.
Airbags. 5 more. Hey, 5 more horsepower. I can feel that some days.
Yeah.
You have this power tilt and telescoping feature that will break on your Land Cruiser. It is a nice addition while it works, but it will break.
It will break.
You ever adjust it
You
though?
just
Like
wanna-
I've never adjusted mine.
Mine retracts automatically.
So you just want it to break in the right spot.
Oh, it does?
Like, that's what you wanted to do. Mine luckily broke in the erect position.
Yeah. Every time I turn off the vehicle and open up the door, and I guess it's pull the key out is what it starts that process. But it'll start retracting. Yep.
Mine used to do that. It did that for a short time.
Nice
of ownership. But yeah, and it's really expensive to repair. So it's just going to be stationary steering wheel. Anyways, drivetrain, 5-speed transmission.
Yep, that's the big one.
And then steering.
Yeah, the variable gear. Be curious what that means. Yeah. The gear ratio lowered, so you went to 4. So you went to 410s instead of 430s
because you have the 5th gear.
Yeah, which they should have kept. They should have kept the same ratio. They went for gas mileage, not performance.
Really quick, that variable gear ratio on the steering column, I have that. It's VGRS on mine, and it allows the system to give you heavier or lighter steering at different speeds. So if I'm in a parking lot, it's real easy to turn the steering wheel versus at highway speeds, they weight it down using gears a little bit. So it's less twitchy.
So here's the definition of that. It says variable ratio steering is a system that uses different ratios on the rack and pinion steering. At the center of the rack, the space between the teeth are smaller and the space becomes larger as the pinion moves down the rack. So when you're steering the wheel just a teeny bit, like, if you're going from 9 and 3 and you tip it to 12 and 6, the ratio of that it's less sensitive, less input, and you don't turn as much. So you put in more input and you don't turn much. So it adds confidence, and then once you start going to do a U-turn, then it steers faster. Interesting.
And that's why my steering rack is a little bit more expensive, and a little bit like if I was to compare it to like an O2 steering rack, it's a different. I can't. Those aren't interchangeable. I have to get a.
I bet you could swap it in.
No. Like someone tried to swap.
Someone actually
tried. Yeah, someone.
I think the mounting locations are different, like completely different, right?
And there's like an input shaft. So like someone actually tried to completely remove VGRS from their. I think it was from the GX actually. Maybe it was from their LX. I'm not sure. But it was like the steering column shaft was different. Like there's quite a bit of componentry that's different behind the scenes. But yeah, to LJ's point, it's the mounting location that's different.
Charcoal canister, shift pattern change, front and rear drive shafts were updated. Even though it really doesn't help when you come banging down top of the world. So that's that. Differential change, cross member changes, Cali converters were made more expensive. Oh, this is something I've actually used since I saw that. The crank hold feature. Have you noticed that where you just gotta like, that means you just turn it, and as soon as the key hits the ignition, you don't have to hold it
Yeah.
there to keep cranking the engine and get started.
So
You
nice.
just click it and come back, and it'll run through its system and start without you having to like hold it down.
It's real scary when like your battery's dead and it just like keeps going.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, how do I turn it off? It's caught me off guard a couple times. Yeah. It'll keep trying for a second. Yeah. Especially because I'm like, I don't want to mess that starter up. But yeah,
those are expensive.
And a shitty location.
Bad location.
It's a great location though. That's the thing. Is it lasts?
It is. It lasts so long.
Miles.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a great location.
Most of the time, you're losing them in 60 to 90,000 miles as a starter because of the location of them.
Yeah,
you're right.
Sure.
Under the engine, oil leaks on them, and all kinds of crap is going to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Gunk.
Your leaky oil gaskets.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why we say 03. We just had 10 minutes, I think, on what all changed.
Yeah, there's quite a bit.
And so you don't see a ton changing after that. Added lumbar support for the passenger seat. That's nice, I guess.
Yeah.
Lights change or windows change colors.
Bluetooth in 2004.
I don't know if that actually is a thing. Is that a thing? Do you have Bluetooth in your car, Steve?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's
that's
garbage.
Bananas. That's
shit.
crazy.
Like yeah. I mean, it is crazy.
What can you do on it?
I can play songs if my amp wasn't dead.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think I can do voice controls, but that was before. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can like play music on it.
I didn't know that.
And I could do calls and stuff on it. Yeah.
That's pretty good. So that's a pretty big function for like 04 and up. Like if you're looking at them, because Tennessee's hands-free Tennessee. Like you're not supposed to be on a phone at all. Like
Jessica got pulled over for that today.
Today?
Today.
No.
Yeah. So yeah,
Was she like talking on the phone or texting?
I think she was texting. Yeah, she was at a red light texting. I'm like, I told her, I said it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
So you got her stopped at a red light?
Got her stopped at a red light. Yep.
Oh, bro.
So I think it was a sheriff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a state trooper.
Oh yeah,
but it was in Williamson County. Yeah, it was in Franklin. Yep.
Did they give her a ticket for it?
It's like a $60 ticket.
Dang.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
No.
But sitting in your car at a red light, texting on your phone, and you gotta just go pay $60
you gotta do it.
somebody.
You can't be doing it up here, man. You gotta be doing it down here.
You gotta do the whole make sure the teacher doesn't catch you.
Yeah, if you're up here like holding it above the wheel, you're busted. Dude, hold it down by your leg. Ain't looking in there. Oh man,
she got pulled over today. So yeah,
that's rough. So yeah, try to get an 04.
So
and you could just talk through Bluetooth to your phone and not get tickets. I didn't realize that was 04 till just now. I think me and Jeff are both just flabbergasted that's
pretty crazy. That's awesome.
Backup cameras, that is an option.
Yep.
You get some different colors in the glass, different kind of coolant. Oh,
100,000 miles before you change it. That's big.
Yeah. So 2003 is the only year that there's a transmission dipstick on a 100 series Land Cruiser.
2003 or lower.
And below, right?
Yeah, it's considered a lifetime fluid.
So I guess it's the only 5-speed Land Cruiser. I guess is what I heard.
Yeah.
Matt was talking about it on the Rome for a Low trip. He was like, he had no 3 as well. It's like, we're the only ones that have we're the only ones that have the 5-speed that have a dipstick.
I wish mine had a dipstick.
Because I think he was checking his at the time. And I was like, I don't know the last time I checked my transmission.
You don't need to.
We're not going to check that till we get home.
Good.
There's certain things you just don't check on trips. Like it's like, no, I'll check that when I get back. We're just gonna pray. It's still good. 18s become standard in 05.
Yep.
2006, there were some big changes, right? So the highest tier of the Land Cruisers you could get is 06, 07, right? It's going to have all the changes and the 06, 07 changes. Headlights go to plastic headlights in 06 though.
Boo.
Do you know that?
Yeah, mine was plastic and theirs
from glass.
Yep.
When they redesigned it, they moved. So I have the glass ones, and they're tough.
Some guys have taken some serious hits on those glass, and they hadn't cracked or shattered or nothing. There's a little pit, right? But no major damage. That glass is stout.
Yeah. Get some LEDs. The engine gets better, right?
TI,
yeah. AHC back in the chat. What's up? Becomes standard on Land Cruisers 06, 07.
Optional.
So
for Land Cruisers, yeah, but LX has had the AHC since the beginning.
Yeah,
I thought so, but I think most of the 06s, 07s I've seen have AHC on it. Like, because you have to ask to have it taken off. Is that what the option was?
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, they could have just built them with that option.
Right. It does say optional.
It could have been part of like another package or something.
Oh, you get tire pressure warning too here. So it'd be another cool light to have on when you go wheeling.
You don't.
That's a lot of features that.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you guys didn't have TPMS. Damn, that's wild. I had no idea. Sorry, Jeff. I didn't mean to.
Oh no,
I'm just as like wigged out about the TPMS and as y'all are about the Bluetooth. My bougie ass thought everybody has TPMS.
Well, we're gonna get to something else you have that we don't have here in a second because we get to 07, looks like something that really doesn't matter to some different codes. Were added.
Yeah.
So that's important for the guy that does your pre-purchase inspection.
Yes.
But yeah, 06, 07, this is the best you can get if you're going. They got all the options.
Yep.
Now, how does basically a Land Cruiser contest?
Whoa. I just found a good
Land
one.
Cruiser. So here's the differences, which is a good one. Because I think it's clear, like the LX is the more luxurious of the vehicles.
Sure. Yeah.
It's got more sound deadening. It's got more wood paneling in it. And it has night vision, and that's something I don't have night vision. I don't.
Yeah, not very many people have night vision.
But yeah, so a couple of the big ones, headlights that you notice on the LXs, the front is different. You don't have one headlight across the front. You've got the multiple. So that's kind of the first thing. Body cladding on the doors and quarter panels is a lot larger than on the Land Cruiser. You had the telescoping steering wheel that breaks in 1998, which is nice.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, gauges and needles probably a little different.
LJ, where are your turn signals?
On the sides of the vehicle?
Like they're on, like in your headlight housing?
On the right side.
On my gauge? Oh, yeah, they're right on the outside of the headlight housing. They're
LX's, you're talking about the headlights. Ours are in the bumper.
That's right. Because when you put your aftermarket bumper on, you had to install, which would probably take the sleeve bumper out of an option. Because the Blueberry doesn't have. I guess you could probably put some lights, like mount a little light down there if you really needed to. But
yeah, it's all integrated into the lower plastic bumper. So that's a difference. Yeah,
that is a difference. Yeah, wheels are different. AC, and then AHC is standard the whole time.
Yep.
So if you have an LX without AHC, it means someone has taken it off and put on a far. I don't know what's our stance on AHC now.
Everybody's got this traditional suspension.
Unmodified, an unmodified vehicle, I would say it'd be good to keep. If you have a modified vehicle, then I would say you're gonna take that out.
I was talking to my buddy who's looking for one just like commute for like a 10-minute commute each day. And I was like, dude, just get like an LX, bro. Like it has AHC. He goes, it's expensive to maintain. I was like, no, it's not. I was like, just you'll be okay. I promise. I was like, you'll like the ride better. It'll be plush.
Yeah.
I think he went. So I've been driving him that way because he also can find more. Like I was like, don't just stick to Land Cruisers because a lot more LXs were produced than Land Cruisers were imported.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have a 2-to-1 number on those compared to Land Cruisers, probably.
Yep.
Genuine leather.
Ooh-wee.
A genuine leather with wood steering and wood shift knob are provided as optional equipment. The wood of the LXs do look nice. It makes you feel like you're sitting on the throne.
Yeah, it is nice.
It's fancy wood. Very nice wood. The speaker system is also a little bit better. I will say my Land Cruiser speakers are very bad. Zero bass.
They're 25 years old.
Yeah. I could probably fix that, I guess.
I put all new speakers in there, both of them.
Yeah.
Helps.
It does. 03, some big changes here. You got some, what's that, exterior stuff. Running board lights. I've noticed those are nice with the LXs.
Yeah.
You open the door, you got all these lights around you so you don't trip.
Mm-hmm. I just think guys will, when they take the running board lights off, well, I know that for a fact. There's a little pigtail, or not pigtail, but a plug that just hangs down. And now you can run some rock lights on there using that power right from a factory PowerPoint.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is neat. This one's pretty cool here. That it automatically goes to recirculation if it detects smog in the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
That's luxury. Like that is
high class.
that's high class. That's even better than luxury. That's a better term. It's high class.
Yeah,
that's good stuff right there. Power windows. Lexus. What is Lexus Link? Is that like if your car gets stolen?
Yeah, that's pretty.
Like OnStar.
I think that's like the garage door opener.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I have my. There's a little button. There's 3 buttons right where the sunglass holder is on the roof.
And then here's another high class option,
which
is night view system.
Yep. That's wild.
Which is
night vision in 2003.
2003, you were putting it on cars. Why don't we have that on everything right now? What happened? Why can't I have that on the regular car?
I've been trying to.
So if I had a 2003 Lexus, I would have night vision.
You could.
I would have
this
cool
optional,
function.
But yep. You will get a super ugly bulbous dash, and it'll be removed. That night vision will be removed if you take out your bumper, but it won't be removed. It won't work as well if you swap out a bumper. But
in 2004, the leather seat material was changed from Imperial to Majesty.
So while you're sitting on your nice wood, you can know that
great wood in your chair named Majesty. God, I love Lexus. This is great. Lexus Link is discontinued in 05. Okay. And then in 06, Lexus Link is added as optional.
So that's okay. So that's what that is then. So because I have those 3 buttons that I can program to 3 different garage doors or gates. That's theft deterrent ECU. I think I've ran into that a couple times where my main key doesn't communicate with the transponder, and it'll just pretend like my battery's dead, and it'll just keep trying to start the vehicle until I switch to the valet key. So that's something to keep in mind, that may cause you issues down the road, which I'm experiencing and have been experiencing for a few years now.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Well, that covers the install guide. That's pretty thorough.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's pretty thorough guide. Couple known issues. We talked about the starter.
Yep.
And 98 accelerator position and throttle sensors malfunction. Yeah. That was pretty informative.
Yeah.
I'll have to give it to Mr. Christo on that one.
Yeah.
If you go through that every time, you should be able to have a pretty good idea of what you're buying.
Yep.
Yeah, good luck buying a vehicle with it's a lot of things.
You're not going to find one that has everything at this stage. I mean, unless you're buying a low mileage 50K garage queen that's been living in Sarasota, Florida for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hope that helps y'all. We just spent like 2 hours on it, so hope the drive was long.
Yeah. It was pretty thorough, though. It was a pretty thorough discussion, I thought.
But when you're going out and spending $15,000 on a $200,000 vehicle or 200,000 mile vehicle, I guess a couple hours of listening to a bunch of amateurs talk isn't a bad idea.
No.
Yeah.
Not
too bad.
But no, I think it's pretty good. I mean, they're cars at the end of the day. Like, just look and see if shit's leaking, see if shit's rusted. Like, it's a car, but there are a few things that are unique to them that you want to check out and really be able to kind of look into. Jeff, nice call on bringing up the thud odometer. Drive, neutral drive. That's a good test to do. That will always find something. That's a good one. And then Steve coming in with the LX solids on what those are, because I had no idea what those Lexus items are. Steve's over here riding on Majesty in his Lexus.
with my nice wood.
me and Jeff are just living over here. But no, that was fun. That was cool.
That was fun.
If y'all hopefully y'all found it good and somewhat interesting to hang out with, we'll come back at you the next time we get back on this thing. Y'all take care, guys.
Thanks.
All right. Peace.